Welcome to the very first wonderful taping of history for Grand Prairie, Texas during our wonderful year of 2001. This is our history tape number 413 on this magic day of January the 9th. And we are very pleased and very honored today to have a very special couple as our guest on the dais today. First of all, we'll bring to you a young man that you've seen on Channel 16 a lot. You've also seen him on our show bringing you wonderful things about the city of Grand Prairie, our illustrious city manager, Mr. Tom Hart. Welcome back to the set.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. Nice to be here.
Glad to have you. And you've added one more time, her second time on our show, and you're not going to do her this time like you did last time and tell her that she smiled a lot too much. Susan Hart, we are so pleased to have you with us, my dear.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming back with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, the last time we had Travis and Austin on, your two wonderful children, but today we're going to let you talk about them while they're at school and do good things. And with your permission, Susan, we're going to begin with Mr. Hart, our illustrious city manager. And Mr. Hart, would you look out into your camera toward Gilbert, and let's talk about the time since you came on board, the last interview, and tell us what's been happening to you and to Grand Prairie, Texas. And we have I'm going to give you about at least 15 minutes to talk about all of this good stuff. Then we're going to get in with Susan, and she's going to talk about the family, with your permission.
Well, that's great. Again, let me tell you thank you for letting us come back on the show. It doesn't seem like it's been that long since we were here starting this new trail we were walking down, and but we're I guess on the job now, going to be soon finishing up 2 years. We've got moved over here.
From where?
From Euless. We moved over here from Euless. We got moved into our home a year ago, July, so we're getting settled on that, and I'll let Susan maybe say more about that. But life got a lot easier once we got moved in, even though the commute wasn't a long ways from Euless. It was...
Wasn't it shorter than you have now?
Really just about. But it was just a feeling of being disjointed. I mean, it was so nice to all of a sudden become part of the community, and we have really enjoyed the move, Mrs. Jackson. It has been a nice change. I think I told you when we were here a year and a half or 2 years ago, however long it was since we did the show, it was a big move for us. We had been in Euless for 16 years. I'd been with the city of Euless for that long. Susan and I, it was really the first home we'd had once we became married. We lived in the same house the whole time we were there. Our boys were born and grew up there. So moving, even though it wasn't far, it was a major change.
That was traumatic, wasn't it, for the boys especially?
When we were concerned about that, we thought, well, how's it going to be to uproot them and move them? And you know, I guess as a lot of people know that have moved a bunch, the kids are very resilient, and they settled in quickly. One of our sons, the older son, quickly got involved in sports, and you know, he was in the 7th grade, which let him play football. And you know, sports are so wonderful; it gives you a way to meet people and quickly make friends. So he really made the transition even quicker than the young one. But the young one, just right behind him, this year he got to play football, and now they've both made some really good friends, and you know, friends make a home special.
Is that Truman School that's been so kind to them?
It is. Both of our boys are at Truman Middle School, and they have settled in very nicely. So we've been very pleased with the move. Getting in a house was nice. Took a while to get settled, but now we're there. So I just have to say, all in all, it's been a very good move. We picked a church over in South Grand Prairie called Trailwood Methodist, and we've enjoyed that. So it's just kind of the whole experience of getting here. And since then, I've had the opportunity to get involved in Rotary Club, which your husband is a member, and Rotary has been a very enjoyable club for me, a very good bunch of people in that group. I have to say, they're not going to give me any attendance awards. They tell me...
I would think not.
My attendance, I think, is pretty poor. It seems like there's always a meeting or something on Friday. But when I'm there, I've really enjoyed that group, and we've had a lot of fun this year. Got to be involved in a good fundraiser for them, and we raised a lot of money for a good charity this year, and that was the dental program in the schools. And I think hopefully you've heard something about
Yes,
that.
yes.
And so it's really nice when you can be involved with a good group of people and enjoy that time, but also feel like we're accomplishing something. So that's been a nice part of the move here.
All right, now that gives us a little gist of the move in the community, but for a gentleman that had been in Euless for 16 years, accustomed to the city, your job, the people you worked with, all of a sudden you have uprooted yourself, left all of your real good contacts that got lots of things done for you as a city manager in Euless, and moved over to the strange and growing city of Grand Prairie, Texas. Tell us about your apprehensions at first and how it's smoothed out for you.
Well, that's a good question. First of all, let me tell you, I've got a little of this stuff going around right now, so my voice I know
Just
sounds terrible.
Don't pass it on.
So excuse the way I sound today. People are probably wondering why Daffy Duck's been hired as city manager here. Well, that was a question. Euless had been home for a lot of years. Had built a staff there over many years,
yes.
And it was the staff was truly like a family, and so that was a little bit of apprehension. But you know what happens is, just like I said with my kids, once they got here and made friends, they were at home, and it was really the same with me, Mrs. Jackson. Once I got here and made some friends and found out what a quality group of people I was going to be working with in Grand Prairie, transition was easy and quick. And let me say, I really feel fortunate that I walked into some really good staff. And if you will notice something pretty unusual for a manager to come into this size town, and 2 years later, there hasn't been a whole lot of change.
That's true.
We've had one retirement, we've had a couple go on to other jobs, but very little out of and that's a testimony to the group of people I found here. And quite frankly, I'm not bashful, because I feel like a city like Grand Prairie deserves the best quality staff we can have. And, had I thought changes needed to be made, I'd make them. But the bottom line, what I found was some great people that are very professional, people that are doing a lot for the city, and people that, quite frankly, I'm really enjoying working with. So because of that, I think we're meshing as a team now. I think we're seeing some results of that. When I have had a few openings, it's been fun. If you've noticed, I have brought even a few of my old staff in where I have had some openings. So it's been a kind of nice blend between the group that I found, plus bringing in, just like a coach would do, bringing in a few people that I had worked with over the years. And I think we're getting a nice balance now, a nice balance. So
I noticed with a great deal of interest, did the mayor have any influence on twisting your arm to be certain that he got you in Grand Prairie, Texas?
Well, the mayor, twisting my arm, the mayor, I have said this,
He's very persistent young man.
The mayor is a great salesperson
Yes,
for
he
Grand
is.
Prairie, Texas.
Yes,
And the mayor should be.
Yes.
Just like you're a great salesperson, but he did a great job, because quite frankly, I've said this, I wasn't going to another city. I mean, that was not my intention. And then one day the phone rings and it's Charlie England.
Yes.
And next thing I know, I'm hearing why I need to be in Grand Prairie, Texas.
Yes.
And let me just say, Charlie, if you're watching this, I'm glad you made that phone call. It's been fun. I wouldn't trade for it. And that's been another. I've talked about the staff, Mrs. Jackson. Let me tell you, another one of the apprehensions I had was, what kind of council did I walk into? Okay, because I work for the city council. And coming to Grand Prairie was a little bit of a change, because, as people know, in Grand Prairie, we have 9 city council members. They're single-member districts, and we weren't single-member district in Euless. So I thought that may be a tough change. And what I found here was a group of council members totally dedicated to Grand Prairie. And the single-member districts, they do a good job of representing their districts, but I watch them. When they vote, you can tell they're voting for the good of Grand Prairie as a whole. Yes. So I've been very impressed, and I have to say, and I have said this to so many of my friends in the manager business, that I am absolutely amazed at the quality and dedication of the city council that I've got to walk in. Absolutely am loving working with them. They make me feel like it's a team, and they want to be part of the team. They want to be part of the leadership also, but they want to be down and work. And I've been amazed at the hours they put in, and you serve on that council. They put a lot of hours in. not once have I asked them to come together for a special meeting or whatever, that there's even been a bit of a hesitation. So between the team that we've got with the staff, the team we've got with the council, and I hope the little role that I do of maybe bringing them together, I tell you what, we can't help but be successful here. And you know, there is so much going on in Grand Prairie. It is our day in the sun. And unless this country goes into some major, really downturn, Grand Prairie is going to stay in the sun for many years in the future, as I can see.
You've worked with the schools in a very positive way, and with the YMCA in a very positive way, bringing on some programs where you're taking care of not only the adults of Grand Prairie, Texas, and the businesses, but you're even getting your feet wet, helping to take care of the kids, and I think that is so commendable.
Well, yes, I think it's a program we all ought to be proud of, but again, let me say something very quickly. Here's an example. I wished I could sit here and say, yes, I brought that idea over here to you guys. That was a council idea. The council, some of the council that traveled to some of the meetings, National League of Cities and whatever, they found out what some cities around the country were doing, and they came to me as manager and said, let's look at that. We did look at it. I think what we should be proud of is that we came up with an innovative way to address the issue.
Yes.
And that is our school district and our YMCA, along with the city, all grabbed hands, and we said, let's tackle the issue together. And by doing it collectively, we've put in an after-school program that I think is very successful, and the numbers are showing it. And we had a tremendous need out there, tremendous need.
So many latchkey boys and girls.
And we're still not fully addressing it, but we're at least making a dent on it now. So here's an example where the council had a vision, and we got together and we went out and we solved it. So I applaud the council for that vision.
Okay, now you have passed a tax referendum. Since you got here, you didn't even really have your coattail down till here you are. You say, we just got to do this thing.
Well,
and it didn't just happen. It happened with a lot of good leadership.
On a lot of people's part.
Yes.
On a lot of people's part, yes. And probably, and I've talked about this in the show that I do also. I think it's something that that has been done that's going to have significant impact on Grand Prairie this year, next year, and 100 years from now.
Yes.
And that is the park sales tax that we've passed. And when I got here, I asked the council to name the 3 priorities to me. What would you say were the 3 areas that needed the attention immediately from a manager? I was told parks, and that's what I'm going to come back to. I was told ambulance service, and I was told economic development. What we did was we went out as a city and we passed a sales tax, a 1/4-cent sales tax that our citizens put on themselves. And it's a permanent situation. What's nice about it is a lot of it's paid for by out-of-city people. People coming over to our Home Depot, to our Garden Ridge. They're helping pay for our park systems. And it has created a permanent fund that will be there for parks from now on. And it is going to let us have a park system, Mrs. Jackson, that I think other cities are just going to be envious of.
Yes.
Because we're going to have a funding source. And you know, how many budgets have you been involved in? It is so tough, even when we can sit here and say how much we love parks. When money's tight and it gets down to having to decide on a tax dollar going to police service or to parks, it's tough to make that decision.
Yes.
We now have, because of our citizens, a dedicated funding source that is going to let us address our park needs into the future. Now, excuse me, we can't solve it all at once, even with that money. It's going to take a lot of years. But our sales tax is going to continue to grow. And in the coming years, we're going to slowly be able to incrementally add to our park system. And of course, I think, as you know, the parkland we just acquired, or we are acquiring out at Joe Pool Lake, is going to give us thousands of acres of land that we'll have to develop in the future. And some of it may not be developed for 20 years, 30 years. But there's going to be a funding source in the future through our sales tax, and there's going to be the land. So I think what we're leaving is a legacy here, that someday there's going to be people living in probably what's going to become more and more of a compacted urban area. but yet we're leaving thousands of acres of parkland and a way to develop it that's going to give those people in the future a quality of life. So,
the environmental blessing, isn't
yes,
it? Yes, it is.
absolutely. So I think that's something we all, and when I say we, every citizen in this city ought to be proud of. Because, you know, when you build quality of life into a city, you build stockholder equity. You know, people wonder, they talk about a city being a nonprofit. We are, but we're just like any corporation. Our citizens are our stockholders. And if we can create a quality of life here that make people want to live in Grand Prairie, the prices of the home goes up. And a home is typically a person's greatest investment. So if we can make that home price go up, we've improved our stockholder equity and we're achieving something. And that's what we want. We want people wanting to live in Grand Prairie. We want businesses wanting to move to Grand Prairie. So I think we're on the right track.
I'm going to get back and talk about the ambulance service, the EMS, and the economic development, but I think we ought to let Susan let you have a little rest and kind of
She's
sit
probably
back.
anxious to jump in.
Yes, we need to balance this off just a little bit, Miss Susan. We'd like for you to look out into your camera and talk with me also about moving your precious family here and what the transition has done for you and getting to move into a new home, and elaborate on that a little bit for us, would you?
Okay. Well, it all came so quickly for us. I mean, it really happened in about a 3 weeks' time, and all of a sudden, are we moving? And yes, we're moving to Grand Prairie. And it was real exciting. It was real tense, but yet real exciting. And Tom did commute for a few months, and in that time we were looking for a home every weekend or even during the week, and we finally found one. And again, Tom said we moved in on July 4th. Moving in the middle of the summer wasn't the easiest for the kids because they had really no way to meet friends. Although they got on their bikes and their skates and they tried to find kids in their neighborhood, there just wasn't really children their age. So they were ready for school to start, and as was I. So when school did start, they fell in love with Truman. The staff, the counselors, the principals were just all wonderful to our children and us as well. And they just fit right in, right off the bat. And it eased Tom and my minds, tremendously, that they were happy. We just, they had friends for years and years, and we just didn't think it would be that easy, but it was. And now they're very
How easy was
close.
it for you to move after so many years in one house, and then you have to pick up all of our things and divide and conquer and bring to your new place what's going to stay with you maybe forever?
That was quite a transition, but I think we tackled it. It was fun. We did find a house that we liked that was pretty plain, and it's been fun redoing it to our needs and to our color schemes. And so I did quite a bit of the decorating myself, so I enjoyed every moment of that.
And how do the boys take to this?
They're loving it. They're loving it. They love the house. They love the neighborhood, the kids. They're happy with the schools. They're both into sports, and life couldn't be better. They still have their distance friends, but their immediate friends here are their number one friends now.
Well, now let's talk about Travis and Austin a little.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about them and what their preferences are, and acquaint us with them.
Okay. Austin is our 14-year-old. He's in 8th grade and at Truman, ready to be grown, as any 14-year-old is.
Yes.
Can't wait to go to South next year. He just thinks that's going to be the greatest institution of his life, and I'm sure it will be at the time. So he's just can't wait to make that first step into that high school.
And be a warrior.
Yes, and be a warrior. He's our athlete, and he's been on the basketball team, and which he's on right now, and he's also been on the football team. He was playing quarterback for a while, and so he had quite a bit of fun doing that. So he is our sportsman. Pretty good student.
Yeah.
Could be better, but couldn't they all?
Yes.
And Travis, on the other hand, is a really into school as far as academics. He's great grades. He also was on the football team, and he loved that, and made quite a few friends that way.
What is his age?
Travis is 12, and he's in 7th grade. Okay. He's in 7th grade. But the newest sport to our family, and even Tom is thinking about taking this up, is the aggressive skating, which they actually did it a couple years ago in Euless, and then all of a sudden somebody got invited to a birthday party at one of these aggressive skate parks, and they both went. and now have fallen in love with it and want to do it 2 or 3 times a week. And they cannot wait for Grand Prairie to have their new facility on the ground. So that's been their passion. In fact, we were just there last night, and you just can't imagine what these kids can do on skates nowadays. It's pretty scary.
And do you have a career? I know you have a past career. I know you have a career in taking care of the boys, but I understand you have great talents in weddings and et cetera.
Well, I did a little catering at one time, but I've decided to pull back on that, and I really enjoy having friends and family over and cooking for them, creating new dishes. I do like to do that.
Yes, and besides that, you have a lot of work to do, being the first lady of the city manager, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do accompany Tom on several things, several banquets and very different things throughout the year, and I've enjoyed meeting and meeting the great people of Grand Prairie.
All right, and you found Trailwood Methodist, and that is a wonderful, wonderful group there.
It is.
I've had them on the show in some of their fundraisers in the past, and they do lots of good things, have a good outreach in that part of the community.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there any club or organization that you're into yet, or are you treading water?
Well, I've joined the Women Grand Prairie Study Club, but unfortunately I haven't been to a meeting yet through different circumstances, through ice and snow and doctor's appointments, but hopefully in the near future I'll be able to attend my first meeting with them.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Well, we're going to get back with you in a few minutes, but you don't mind if we go back
Not at all.
to the center of our attention,
That's
really,
right.
Our city manager, because we wanted to talk about the 3 things the council asked for. The other 2 are ambulance and economic development, and you want to talk about that?
Be happy to. The ambulance service is something I want to talk to everybody about, because I think we are so fortunate here. The council told me that they really wanted to look hard at ambulance service. They did not think what we had here, and that was a contract service, was adequate, and quite frankly, I agree. It was time to make a change. Council was right on the money. We went out and we opened up for proposals from companies to come in and continue to do it on a contract, but we also had the staff put together a proposal to do an in-house ambulance service. So the staff actually bid against the private sector.
Good.
And as you know, the results were, what came back was that we could do a more quality ambulance service at a reasonable price in-house. We implemented that, went into effect August 1, and I tell you what, I think our citizens are getting probably one of the premier ambulance services anywhere at this stage.
That's under the direction of the fire department and the fire chief?
Under the fire chief, Cliff Nelson, and under the fire department. And I'd just like to say right here, in fact, I'd just like to thank the fire department, because our fire department, under Chief Nelson's direction, went out and have made something happen that's going to be so important to the citizens. The bottom line, they're going to save a lot of lives. We had a system in place back prior to August 1 under a contract where at times this city, which is 30-something miles long, 12 miles wide, might have 1 ambulance in service. Okay? As of August 1, excuse me, we now have 7 ambulances ready to respond. The council authorized us staffing so that 4 of them have staffing 100% of the time. The other 3 we put in the stations where we have ladder trucks. The ladder trucks, which we're required to have by our insurance key rates and all of that, those ladder trucks don't run that often. Okay? But when you need them, you need them. So what happens is we put an ambulance in each of those stations so that if a call comes in and the primary ambulance is out, the crew off the ladder truck takes that other ambulance and runs with it. So in effect, what we got, and we got this because we had a fire department that was willing to step up to the plate, we got 7 ambulances for the price of 4.
Yes.
And I think our citizens are going to see the dividends for that in the future. So we have been operating since August. I haven't had 1 complaint, just the opposite. I've been hearing great things. So let me say again to the fire department, thank you for what you've done. Thank the council for having that vision and for putting the money where it is. An important service for our citizens.
And a new fire station.
Station number 9.
Station number
That's
9.
Right. Beautiful fire station. Opened up on Carrier and Polo, and it's operating. It's got one of our ambulances there, also a ladder truck and an engine company. So We brought a lot of new expanded services to that part of town.
And you've already mentioned the new library, the library that's going to be out south. But what else do you have that's coming up real soon that you're excited about? Because we have about 3.5 minutes left. I want to save 1 minute to thank you.
Well, let me just say, the last item was the economic development, and we've got so much happening there. Once again, Grand Prairie was #1 in the Metroplex when it came to commercial and industrial space absorption last year. We had over 8 million square feet. #2 in the Metroplex was Irving with 3+ million. So Grand Prairie is booming. We're getting commercial, we're getting industrial. Something I think the city also ought to be proud of, we talked to the council about looking at creating some TIFs. We told you as a council, we may put a lot of money and time in it, not achieve it, but it's worth a try. You said go try it, we did. We got 3 TIFs implemented. That's going to mean millions and millions of dollars to Grand Prairie in the coming years. In fact, this year the money's going to start coming in. Let me say I'd like to thank our school district. Our school district, both Grand Prairie, Arlington, and Cedar Hill, stepped up and participated with us. Thank you for that. It's going to let us do some development here that's going to put us ahead of the other cities. We're one of the only cities in Texas now, from an economic development standpoint, that has TIFs in place over nearly 10,000 acres of land. We've got sales tax capacity, and as the Dallas Morning News said, we're a city that's capable of doing deals. So there's a lot happening, but there's no telling what's coming because Grand Prairie is ready.
Aren't you excited? Oh, I just think that is so wonderful and such a good forecast and such a good way to start this new year of 2001 off with a report like that from our city manager with the help of Susan here that's backing you up and just, Susan, thank you for aiding and abetting this young man.
She does good.
She does good. And with about the minute that we have left, I want you to look out into your camera, and we have exactly 1 minute, and thank the citizens of Grand Prairie.
Oh, well, that's very easy to do because, again, we feel very blessed. We feel very fortunate to be here. It has just been a great move, and we're loving it. So, Susan, thank you. You have been a great partner while we've been here, too, so let me thank you right here on air.
Well, thank
Yes. And you better thank the 2 boys, too, because they have really been good students, and you have a reason to be proud of all of your family.
You talking about our 2 little angels?
Your 2 little angels
Yeah.
that sometimes we
But we wouldn't
describe.
trade for
We
them.
wouldn't trade.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much for
Mrs.
being
Jackson.
here. It's wonderful. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.